bailout of General Motors. Didn't work. It shouldn't have taken American taxpayer money. But I will tell you this, as someone who's run a huge global business, if we had given General Motors a 10-year tax holiday for every factory, they would relocate back here in the United States of America.
Right.
We could rebuild our factory. And let us once again become the innovation leader in the world. That is what we are best at. We are innovators. Americans have always created the future, invented the future. We have to be the innovation leader of the 21st century, but our R&D tax credit, which our president just made permanent, I applaud him for making the R&D tax credit permanent. But you know what? Let's make it competitive while we're at it. We're now 17th in the world, and we need to be number one.
Right.
You know, sometimes people say to me, Carly, how are you going to cut spending in Washington, D.C.? I mean, it's totally out of control. And by the way, yes, it is out of control. You know, the federal government has grown larger each and every year for 60 years. It's like it's just like a mushroom. That's a good word, man. It's like a mushroom, you know? Just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So let me tell you a little story. When I was 32 years old, I was put in charge of a group of engineers for the first time. And I was quite intimidated. Now, to explain to you why I was intimidated, I started out as a secretary. I typed, I filed, I answered the phones for a little 9-person company. I got my start the way most Americans get their start, in a small business, at the bottom. I was a medieval history major in college. Maybe finally that degree is going to pay off as I wander the Byzantine halls of Washington, D.C. I was a law school dropout, okay? So I'm intimidated when I'm asked to manage engineers for the first time, but my boss says to me, Carly, these engineers engineer so that we can purchase $2.5 billion worth of stuff a year. I worked for AT&T at the time, the Bell system. It was a big company. Some of you may remember that. So I thought about it. I thought, wow, how am I going to do this? Because I can't tell these engineers how to be better engineers. They know their jobs. So I thought, well, you know, maybe I'll look at a bill for this stuff. And I looked at the bill. And I found a mistake. And I looked at another bill. And I found another mistake. And 18 months later, I had 90 people looking at bills, and I found $300 million worth of mistakes. Now, why do I tell you that story? Because I have managed billions of dollars for 25 years. Hewlett-Packard was an $88 billion company when I left it. I will guarantee you this. You show me $1 billion that no one's accountable for, no one scrutinizes, no one's responsible for making sure that every dollar is spent wisely and well, and I will show you hundreds of millions of dollars worth of waste and abuse and, yes, downright fraud, and that is what we have in Washington, D.C. Spending in Washington, D.C. has climbed by 10%. 2009, 10% in 2008. Employment has grown by 14.5%. We now know that government employees make almost twice as much as what private sector employees make. The Government Accountability Office, GAO, did a report where it concluded that 22% of the programs in Washington, D.C. are failing to meet their objectives. So I got a couple of common sense ideas. First, let's go back to 2008 spending levels. Second, let's put every agency budget up on the internet for everybody to see so we know how our money is being spent. Third, let's subject every agency to a rigorous review of what are you doing with the money. Are you producing results or not? And if you're not producing results, then there has to be accountability. And let's go after the 22% of the programs that aren't working, and let's go after the $500 billion worth of waste and abuse that has already been identified that exists in the federal budget. Let's go do those things. Let's hold Washington. Has it backwards. I really think Barbara Boxer believes that the money that's being spent in Washington, D.C. belongs to the government. It doesn't. The government doesn't own any money. It can borrow it, it can print it, but it doesn't have any money. It's your money. So let's find out how they're spending it. I said that I had never run for public office before, and this is not an easy process. It is a privilege, it is a joy on many days, but it's not easy. But I'm doing it because, as I said earlier, I think these are consequential times. I have truly lived the American dream. My husband, Frank, started out driving a tow truck in the city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for a family-owned garage. We need to give a helping hand to small business owners and family-owned businesses and innovators and entrepreneurs because they create 2/3 of the jobs, new jobs in this country. They employ half the people. But my husband Frank and I have traveled all over the world, and we know that it is only in the United States of America that a woman like me could start typing and filing and answering the phones for a 9-person company and have the privilege to run one of the great companies in the world and the privilege to run for the U.S. Senate. That is only possible in the United States of America. I am running for the U.S. Senate because the work of the U.S. Senate now impacts every family and every business in America. I am running now because I think we are making the American dream too hard for too many people. The American dream is precious, but it is perishable. It is what is in people's core. It is why that young man stands up and asks President Obama, is the American dream dead for me? Because people in their heart are troubled. In their core, people worry, are we still the country that believes that anyone and everyone has potential, and that everyone has the right to fulfill their potential? That the American dream does belong to everyone, but people cannot live that dream without opportunity and without the freedom to pursue opportunity. And they cannot live that dream if we are continuing to have out of control Washington, D.C. spending our children's future and our grandchildren's future. And I worry that our 2 granddaughters will not have the same chances that we have had. We can fix this. California was the Golden State. And we were called the Golden State not because of the color of our hills in the summer. We were called the Golden State because this is where you came to build a business, to invent a business. This is where you came to build a better life for yourself and your family. And California today, thanks to policies that Barbara Boxer has pursued for 28 long years, is still the leading economy, the largest economy in our nation, but it is also the laughingstock of the nation because of the policies. I was in Virginia just last week. So many business people came up to me and said, we used to be in California, but we left. We can't be there anymore. And so goes California, so goes the nation. We can grow our economy. We can fight for our jobs. We can compete. We can win. We can be the Golden State again. And yes, we can hold people in Washington, D.C. accountable for the money, more money, that they are spending. We can do all these things. But first, we have to change the people we send to Washington. If you want 6 more years, if your neighbors and your colleagues and the people that you work and worship with, if you want 6 more years of failed stimulus, 6 more years of out-of-control spending, 6 more years of job destruction in this state and across our nation, then tell your friends and neighbors to vote for Barbara Boxer. But if you think that we can do better, if you think that we must do better, then change the people we send to Washington and vote Barbara Boxer out on November 2nd.